Okay, good morning. Today we're going to go over slope from a table again, which we talked about yesterday as being the change in the y over the change in the x. So remember that little triangle stands for delta, which is change in y. So it's the vertical change, or another way to say it is the vertical change over the horizontal change, or the difference in the y values over the difference in the x values. So these notes today are a little more detailed. You can still do it the way we did yesterday, but if you struggled, the notes here, these steps might help you. So when you're finding slope from the table, you don't actually have to do the whole entire table. You can just pick 2 points to circle. Because remember, rate of change is constant. So any 2 points on that table are going to give you the slope. So if I just start with my first 2 points on this table right here, see that? I might just use this point and this point. Okay, I'm just starting with the first 2. And then I'm finding the change in the y, so I'm looking at I'm drawing my direction arrows. How do I get from 27 to 45? What's that change? And then on the change in the x, how do I get from this number to this number? What's that change? Yesterday, we could do it pretty mentally easily. If you can't look at these 2 points and tell what the change is, then a shortcut is just subtract the 2 values to find the difference in the y's. So if 27 to 45, I know that's increasing. How much is it increasing? Well, I can just do what is 45 minus 27. I probably should pull up my calculator, but I'm just going to try to do it real quick. So that's increasing 18. 27 plus 18 is 45. And then my change in my x is plus 2. Or I could say 5 minus 3 is 2. So this is the change in y, and this is the change in x. So my slope is going to be 18 over 2, which I know simplifies to a whole number of 9. So I'm putting the change in y on top always and the change in x on the bottom. Okay, any questions on that? Please reach out to me or your teacher and ask for help. So let's look at the next two or 3 examples. Let me move my base. Okay, so here's a table that shows the number of photos printed and the total cost of the photos. So the cost depends on how many photos you're printing. This is always going to be my x over here, and the second number in the column is going to be the y. So I always do, just to remember, I'm always going to do my change in y first, and I'm going to do just these 2 points. And here's my arrows. So my change in my y, how do I get from 2 to 4? Well, that is increasing 2, so I'm going to put a plus 2. Or I could subtract 4 minus 2, which is 2. And then over here, how do I get from 10 to 20? I can do that pretty easily mentally. I'm adding 10. 10 plus 10 is 20. Or you can subtract 20 minus 10 and get 10. So my change in my y, now I'm going to plug it into the formula. The change in y is 2 over the change in x, which is 10. And that reduces to a positive 1/5. So that is your slope from that table. It's basically, that's saying it's $1 for every 5 photos that you print. $1 for 5 photos. Okay, here's another table that's vertical, so we have to remember we're going to start down here. Now, something that you can keep in mind when it says pick any 2 points, sometimes when I see lots of negatives, I don't like to deal with negatives, but all of these are negatives. But I'm just going to use these last 2 points. I think I'm just going to do right here. So I'm going to do my arrows. So my change in y is going from -3 to -4. That's actually subtracting 1. We're getting smaller. And then the change in the x, 4 to 8, is plus 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. So now to plug it into my slope rate of change formula, the change in y was -1 over the change in x, which is 4. That's just -1/4 is your slope. Again, you can pick any 2 points to do your slope formula. I just picked the last 2 to do something different. Okay, the last one. Here's a table of miles traveled and gallons of fuel used. So again, the miles traveled is going to be your x because that's on top, or if it was a vertical column, it's like this, x, y. So when it's vertically, the x is here and the y is here. Okay, so picking 2 points, I'll just use these, use the first 2 points. Okay, so 0 to 30 is plus 30. 0 to 156 is adding 156. So then I'm going to do the change in y over the change in the x. The change in y is 156, and then the change in x is 30. Now, I'm going to use my calculator here to see what that reduces to. So, it was 156 divided by 30. That's 5.2. If I want to change that to a fraction, I could, either one of these answers is going to be okay. So 26 over 5 or 5.2. Excuse me. 26 over 5, that means you're using 26 gallons of fuel for every 5 miles traveled, or you could say 5.2 miles to the gallon. So either one of these is correct. Okay, so that is slope from a table, and you're going to have an assignment to do today now. So thank you for listening.